Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and this one's going to be an unedited version because I'm tired and I need to get this done while it's all still fresh in my brain. So we're going to start out with this article right here. All of the links are going to be down below in the description. What you need to do is click like a little triangle or something like that, usually, that opens that up so you can see the description, and then you should be able to click on the links. But this article right here, this page by Tiffany Fitzhenry, she has interviewed the guy that did the 950-page Google leak document thing that he put out. And remember, you can get those from Project Veritas's website. They have all of those you can download and look at them. And one of the first ones that I downloaded and I looked at was, oh, here's the documents also. That's where you can click on them and get those. And they're grouped into these different subject folders. And so I just happened to pick one that was talking about, I think, election tampering, was it? I don't remember which folder it was in. Maybe censorship. Don't remember, but it was the one about Covfefe. And that happens to be what they talk about here. Well, one of them they talk about in this interview. The interview is about an hour long, 58 minutes, 59 minutes almost. And she does a really good job asking him questions, and he points out some really important stuff. So I'm going to leave the link for you so you can watch the whole thing, but I'm going to give you a few highlights. And one of the things that they talked about was this Covfefe. Now, I know a lot of people have seen Trump's tweet, and he was saying, despite the constant negative press, Covfefe. All right, well, right before that, he had been in Saudi Arabia. And so he had just returned from that trip, and this came out. Well, at the time, if you would have gone to Google Translate and typed in Covfefe, you would have come up with the Arabic term, I will stand up. That's what it actually meant. And, Trump even dared people to do that. Well, the problem was Google found out, and they decided they were going to stop that. And so what did they do? These are the documents that are there that you can look at. They basically were going to go through, and their original plan was to take that word, and whenever somebody put it in, they would put this shrugging, little logo thingy. Well, they didn't end up doing that, but you just don't get anything. Like, if you go in and you put in Covfefe, all you get is Covfefe. Yeah, that's what you get. You can't get any other translation. I thought, well, what if I tell it it's Arabic? No, still same thing. So see, they have altered it. They changed the translation of words just to suit them. Okay, this is huge, really, when you think about it, because they manipulated something they didn't like and they changed it. Yeah. So they had this, whole plan they were going to go through, and they were going to do that. Well, what they did was they actually took stuff out. And if you go to the documents themselves, you can see the whole thing, and there's even code there and everything. So if you know about code, it shows exactly the code that they went in and they changed in order to make this happen. And they found out while they were there that there was another way of finding out that it was through pronunciation, so you could misspell it a little bit. Well, they changed that too, and essentially they just deleted the word out of the Arabic translation. So, yeah. And I wanted to point this out to you because this is something he pointed out and I didn't notice until he did. But the name of this team was the Derrida team. And, I just kind of skipped over that when I was going through, but I'm glad he pointed it out because, yeah, he made some very good points about that. And let me just show you who he was talking about. I got lots of tabs open, so stick with me here. Nope. There. Nope. We're going to come back to those, okay? Yeah. This is the guy right here, Jacques Derrida. He was a French, actually he was Algerian. And at the time when he was born, he was born in 1930 here. And Algeria belonged to France until I believe it was the 1960s. And a lot of France actually had a lot of holdings in Africa until that time, and then there was this big, revolution type thing, and a lot of them gained their independence at that time, and Algeria was one of them. Also, I think Sartre, Camus, I believe, was from Algeria as well. So he was in good company there, I guess. But anyway, this guy right here, Jacques Derrida, I was looking through trying to figure out what this guy is all about. And, I just kind of did an intense look into what his theories were. He was a philosopher, and he was all about deconstruction. I mean, that was his thing. And as it says here, it's an approach to understanding the relationship between text and meaning. And essentially, from what I've gleaned, and I could be wrong on this, but from what I've gleaned about his position, is that he believed that you could not define words. Like, when you saw written words, that they could not have specific meanings, and that they automatically were general just by being words, printed words, and that speech, spoken words were so much more full of meaning because we can put in emphasis on our words. We can say things where there's a stress on the word. We can add inflections and various things and emotions into the words when we're speaking, but you can't do that when you're writing, which ended up being difficult for him when he was writing because he had to write this down to get his point across. And so he was essentially saying that speech is much better than written words, but he had to use the written words to get that point across to everybody. I guess it's just really strange. But one of the things about this, this whole idea, is that it really opened up things in postmodernism, because that helped move away from the this means this type thing. And, before, when you were into philosophy, there were certain rules that you had to follow. Well, the deconstructionism just kind of blew all that out of the water, because it was like, well, there's this idea that has always been held to be true, but there are parts of it that we shouldn't trust. And, it just really was focused on tearing apart what we had always held to be true and trying to deconstruct it so they could reconstruct it a different way, which in some ways, I think what's going on here, his ideas are what we're seeing in a lot of things going on right now, with the liberalism. I can see that more and more as I'm looking at it. And I don't know, and I'll probably read some of his stuff, but it seems that a lot of people thought he was kind of hard to understand too, that his whole philosophy was a little difficult to grasp. At least that's what I'm finding out. But yeah, this of grammatology, I guess that was one of his big work that they think. But let's go down here to politics, because I found this very interesting, and I've got a little tidbit here to give you about it. But, he was kind of a type of hippie, if you want to say it that, with the protests and everything. And it was part of it. It was a time period, around the Vietnam War and everything in the 60s and 70s, where there was a lot of unrest. And part of the issue was that in France, they had a huge influx of people, because when the colonies, the African colonies got their freedom, they had a big bunch of people move to France because they were considered French citizens still, but it was just, that time period where they could stay where they were, or they could, go to France instead. And a lot of them did, actually. And that's really where France got a huge injection of Muslims, because the majority of the people that were in the northern part of Africa were Muslims. And like I said, it was controlled by France at the time. And they just, kind of went into France. And France has had a lot of difficulties, especially lately, with their Muslim population. I mean, it's caused significant problems. I lived there back in the what was it, late 1800s? Yeah, I feel like it tonight. 1980s, about 1989, I think it was when I was there, and it was tough even then. There was a significant Muslim population, and there were conflicts that were going on between the Muslim population and the rest of the French people. So it's only gotten worse since then, and there has since then been more problems between the Muslim population and the Jewish population too. So yeah, there's been a lot of that going on. They had a series of attacks on Jewish people for a long time that they had to deal with. I'm not sure if those are still going on. I've kind of not been keeping up with what's been going on in France, except for the gilets jaunes, the yellow vests, that they still are protesting, and we're still not seeing it in the news. But anyway, let's go on. And so he had a lot of, he was doing a lot of protesting and all that stuff. And there were several other intellectuals, a lot of think tank things going on, people together in that. And then down here, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, this one right here. 1977, he was among the intellectuals with Foucault and Antolser, I don't know how to pronounce his name, who signed the petition against the age of consent laws. Now, I'm not going to read this article to you, but I'm going to include it down below so you can read it on your own, because this article, yeah, we think here that it's kind of set in our minds what the age of consent should be. Whoa, it's not necessarily there. And the French have kind of a different view of sexual things. And for those who might not know, I believe prostitution is still legal in France. At least it used to be. So I'm pretty sure it is. But, yeah, there were all these, and these were all their intellectuals here that all signed this petition saying that you need to lower the age of consent. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go through it all, but there were various numbers that came up, and I saw even as low as 10, and some even said maybe lower than that. But I also was reading, I also read this article right here, which was about the age of consent reform in the UK. So, like I said, I'll leave the links down below. Might be something you want to read about because, wow, yeah, little eye-opening. But anyway, so this guy here, this Jacques guy, was saying, yeah, we need to have a lot lower age of consent. And part of the reason at that period in time, the reason they wrote that letter was because there were these guys who, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. This is one of the PDFs of an interview, a kind of a dialogue that went on, and the danger of child sexuality. So it was this was like a radio thing, I believe, that went on between these people, and some were for it, some were against it, and kind of scary. And then this was an article about it, but this one's in French. And so, yeah, they were complaining because these three guys, Bernard, I think it's Dejager, Jean-Claude Gallien, and Jean Burkhardt, were arrested in autumn of 1973, and it was because they were involved with these girls that were 15, but they're saying that they should not have been arrested because the girls consented. Okay, so yeah, That was what they were protesting. They said they should not be arrested and convicted of a crime because it shouldn't be a crime. So, yeah. In other words, that's what this guy was for. And not just that, but all the other stuff, the deconstruction stuff. And when they're talking about that, that's what they named their team. So, Derrida team, google.com. And this was assigned to it. So, somebody high up knew that about that guy. And these people, this just shows that it was not one or two people that were saying this. This was a team, and it was a team that was evidently sanctioned by the higher ups because somebody assigned this to them. And so when you start looking at it that way and you see that these people are all about this deconstructing things, and not just deconstructing languages, but it was all about deconstructing political things too. So, that's really, it makes sense when you start thinking about it, that they were, they saw their job as deconstructing the set rules that our government plays by and changing it, reconstructing it to suit what they wanted it to be. And essentially that's what went on. So anyway, I will leave the link to this page below so you can look at that. I also am going to leave a link to his page or his Twitter feed because I just think this is, he's got a lot of stuff here. Very interesting. And I'll tell you, you could spend hours going through these, and reading and watching videos and everything that were going on that he has put on here, because he's put some really awesome stuff on here. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a clip that I did with Robert Epstein in it. He was the guy that was talking to Ted Cruz about how he says he has documentation that Google manipulated the election. Well, here is a letter that was sent from Eric Schmidt, and it was to Cheryl Mills. And he's talking about campaign things. Well, Eric Schmidt at the time was the head of Alphabet, which is the owner of Google. I got to tell you, folks, that right there led to this document, which, again, all will be down below. This was from October 9th, 2015. And this tells how Eric Schmidt, again, the guy behind Google, had a startup that he put to work for Hillary Clinton to try to get her into the White House. Okay? And it goes through this whole thing. I mean, it was very, very obvious. They set up this company so they could help her win by using and manipulating data. Yeah. Gee, I wonder where they got the data. Anyway, here's something. It says, the shrinking distance between Google and the Democratic Party. Former Google executive Stephanie Hannon is the Clinton campaign's chief technology officer, and a host of ex-Googlers are currently employed as high-ranking technical staff at the Obama White House. Schmidt, for his part, is one of the most powerful donors in the Democratic Party, and his influence does not stem only from his wealth, estimated by Forbes at more than $10 billion. And this whole article, I mean, it's kind of long. I'm not going to read it all to you, but it's talking about how his biggest influence was not his money. It was his technological experience and knowledge. And so they set this up. I mean, they helped. Google did some with Obama, but mostly Obama, his people did not do a very good job with it. And so Google came up, I should say Eric Schmidt came up with, this thing to help Clinton. And so he really was working with her. Now, is it any surprise to you about what was going on with the Clinton campaign and Google helping her? No, it's not even a stretch for that. Anyway, I'm getting to a point here. Like I said, it's kind of long, but it's really a good read. It's very informative. And, oh, down here. Okay. So it says, one source says Hannon is trying to reduce the campaign's reliance on the groundwork. Groundwork was the startup that Schmidt put in place to help Hillary, but Schmidt's stature in Silicon Valley and his status as a major Clinton backer may complicate any efforts to constrain the groundwork's involvement and distort the typical balance of power between the campaign and a key vendor. Imagine you're a mid-level person inside the campaign, or even the campaign manager, one veteran Democratic operative says. Who's going to say, hey, billionaire, smartest tech guy on the planet, thanks but no thanks? So, I mean, really, this is all about how Eric Schmidt was working with the Clinton campaign. I mean, it's very obvious. And if he was, Google was. You can guarantee it. So that article will be down below. Again, it's from 2015, but wow. Yeah, very interesting. And so we go back to Zach here. That was one of the things that I saw. And then this I thought was really interesting too, because he has this open letter to Tulsi Gabbard, to her attorneys. And here that is. And he says, thank you for reaching out to us yesterday. Together, I believe we have a novel opportunity to bring honesty and transparency to a significant threat to our democratic process. Tulsi Gabbard's email account went down right after the Democratic debate, and I believe I can provide assistance on where to focus your discovery efforts because I saw how other accounts, such as Jordan B. Peterson, was taken down. I'm going to recount how this happened to him so as to assist you in your legal discovery process. Now, I'll just summarize it for you, but what happened was they would take the email address, the Google email address, and change one letter of it. And in that way, they would end up making all these bogus accounts. Well, then they would start to have those bogus accounts send out all this spam. And then the AI would grab those spam accounts and in the process, grab the original one too. And they'd all be taken down. So that's how they did it right there. And I love what he's done here because essentially he went to her lawyer and he said, here's how they did it. So this is what you need to know in order to do your discovery well. And so here's the whole thing set out. So he says, here's how you can prove it. Proof of this exploit can be found by doing the following. You're going to go inside the Google corporate network, go to this URL, search terms. There you go. Cheers and good luck in your lawsuit. So there it is. He just tells very simply how they took down her account. And it's amazing. It really is. So there's that one. And then, of course, keep PragerU in your thoughts because PragerU is currently in a battle right now, and they're trying to prove that they have been censored, which they have, and they shouldn't have been. So let's see. There was another one. I don't know. I'm not finding it here, but let me go over here. Oh, this was the leaked email. Sorry. So, yeah, it has the email there and basically just says, hey, Schmidt was, in fact, funded the groundwork, a highly secretive tech company, and the sole purpose of which was to put Clinton into office. So, yep, there you go. I mean, it's all out there. It's been out there. We just have not been paying attention. So, anyway, I know, I've kind of breezed over a few things, but those are the items I wanted to point out to you. And really go through Zach's entire Twitter account here because you just keep going down and you find more and more stuff. It is amazing. And he does mention the blacklists because there's a whole, I think, 42 pages of blacklists that he found that are terms that when you search for them, you're not going to find stuff on it. And so really, they was caught interfering in U.S. elections and Irish elections. And now I just found out Google was caught interfering in Brazil's elections. Makes you wonder what other elections they were caught interfering in. Well, check out Israel, because I tend to think they had their hand in that too. But I'm serious. Just keep going down his list, because there's so much here that he put in. And, this guy, he really took a chance. And he has a dead man switch out there, which is to, in case anything happens to him, because he really is worried he's going to be, Arkancided. So, yeah, just so much here. So much. Daily Caller talking about him. He's kind of got his 15 minutes of fame happening right now, but you know what? He deserves it, because he did something really good. And for those who follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, I think he's an Anon. So, just from some things he said and everything, I thought this was interesting, that the state attorneys general to launch antitrust investigation into the big tech companies. Yeah. So not only is he posting things, but he's retweeting some really significant things too. So really, really good to go through and to look at what he has here. See Dark to Light. And well, I haven't listened to this yet, but there's another one that he was part of, and that was a retweet of Amazing Polly there. So, it's coming out. Things are starting to come to light, and we're finding out the reality of what's been going on. And this one was really sad. Cancer Cures was literally blacklisted. Yeah, very sad. Very sad. Why is that on your blacklist? It shouldn't be. So, yep, there it is. See, there were all these, and usually any of those, major events were included on the blacklist, so people couldn't question the official narratives. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to point this all out to you and leave it here. Again, apology for all the babbling and everything, but there's just so much here. And like I said, this whole Easter egg thing was much bigger than I thought it was. And, because of it, the New York Times came out and they did this article, Covfefe was not Trump speaking Arabic. Yes, it was. And they made it out that Trump was, demented, or that he was senile or something. And that's why he wrote it. No, he didn't. He wrote it true. And they even put, New York Times, they put in this Arabic guy, and they had him lie for him. I just, frustrating to me. I get so frustrated reading this stuff. So, but anyway, really you need to, subscribe to this guy. Well, follow this guy. And there's so much here, all that they're talking about. And I don't know, she said they were going to do another one. And here's where they talk about the Derrida team. And so, just so much. So go to his Twitter feed, follow him, and check out some of the things that they were trying to do. And the health sites decimated by Google. Yep. That's what they were trying to do. Make sure you don't go to any of those sites, because look at that. Look at the change in visibility. A negative 99.87. I mean, that's really serious. Nobody's ever going to find your site at that rate. Oh, so that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.